Handling objections, everybody's favorite topic. So first, I just want to say you should be hearing no. And if you're not hearing no, that means that you're not inviting enough. So you can't be afraid of hearing no. It's something that you are just you can just get used to. And you really have to change your mindset into hearing the word no means a couple things. If you handle the objection appropriately and they still say no, it just means not right now. Many times there's objections because people don't have enough information. So remember, people will do what they want to do, but you just have to be able to satisfy a need that they have. If they don't see that their need is being satisfied, then they aren't going to commit time, money, to what you have to offer. And it takes a little bit of time to get used to this. It takes a little bit of time to, handle objections, and you just really have to, you kind of have to develop a backbone with it, and you can't think of it as a failure. You just think of it as, okay, they're not ready right now. I've had, most of my customers told me no the first time. I don't really know too many that told me yes the first time. I think Sarah told me no 4 or 5 times. But I told Katie no, and my one coach, Danielle, I joke with her, she told me no a bunch of times, but it wasn't until she saw the value in what I had to offer, and she just wasn't ready. And there's just a point in people's lives where they're just not ready at the time, even if they do see the value, even if they do think that they need it, even if you have satisfied that need. So just remember that, you always want to put them on your follow-up list. Make sure that you're tracking. We talk about this a lot. The fortune is in the follow-up. I'm sure you've heard of that. And it's so unbelievably true. I think the average is people commit to something when they've been asked. I think it's the average is 4 to 5 times. So you almost have to be ready for someone to say no, because you're okay, well, I'm going to be asking them 4 or 5 times. And most times what I say to people at the end of it, if they do have a no, is okay, well, I do these groups monthly. It seemed like you were really interested, or, whatever the situation was. Can I follow up with you next month? And most times they say yes. Very rarely do I have anybody that, they're rude or angry. Because ultimately at the end of the day, what we have works, and what we're trying to do is help people. And we know just from being in this and coaches ourselves and using the products that they do make a difference in your life. I know, just being in this business for 3 years, it's completely changed me, not only physically, but mentally too. So you have to think about, if you're avoiding the objection because you don't ask someone, you're really not giving them an opportunity to change their life for the better. So, just something a little bit to think about when we dive into this here. Okay. So I'm going to do a screen share. And all right. So handling objections. All right. So kind of like what I said is that objections are just needing more information, and they haven't found the value to overcome their own excuses, right? So they need more information. You haven't satisfied their need, or they don't see a value in what you have to offer them. And you just may not have asked enough questions. They just don't know enough, and that's okay. So what we're going to do is identify what their needs are and how we can prevent objections and how we can overcome them. So, whoops. All right, this gets weird with. All right, so first of all, you want to uncover any objections pretty quickly or identify them and overcome them without them even happening. And you do this through the 5-step invitation process. So when you do invite somebody to want to learn more about what you have to offer. So typically what I do, and this is the invite process is after you've already started this relationship with them or rekindled a past relationship. So we talk about forming people. If you've participated in Coach Basics or you've done some of the training in the back office, what we talk about forming people is getting to know people based on questions you can ask about their family, their occupation, what they like to do recreationally, and then ultimately you're going to send them a message, which is really the invite, the follow-up to that. So think about, I know for me, direct sales is really popular right now, and it's a great business, especially for working or staying at home moms that, can still work and stay home with their children. So I'm sure that all of you have probably been invited to something unique or maybe like a Tastefully Simple or Pampered Chef or, something like that. Rodan and Fields, Nerium, these other products. And sometimes I get messages in my inbox and it really, it teaches me something about what not to do. But have you ever gotten a message from someone that just says, hey, I'm having a party and this is what, this is my group and this is the time and join here. Or they just put you in a group, which actually drives me crazy. They just add me to this group that they didn't ask me to be a part of. They haven't asked me anything about what it is that I need or I want. And it's like, okay. So you don't want to you want to start a relationship with someone. You want to just start talking to them. And most times what happens is you relate to them on some level and it organically comes to what you're doing. For me, and this is, we talk a lot about social media and setting up your like page or your personal page. And if you're doing what we're teaching you, right, is sharing 3 to 5 times a day. What are you doing with your workouts? Are you inspiring people? And, what's going on with your personal life? Are you adding value to your page? So once you start these conversations with these people, they've already kind of seen what you're doing. So for me, like I personally like to have a transformation picture as my profile picture, because instantly people that I'm friends with come to my page and they see that. And that's, they ask about it. And so it just organically flows into the invite process. So you just want to make sure that you're starting this relationship. And then when you do invite them and say, hey, I'm running this monthly challenge group. It's a lot of fun. For me, it's like I'm getting a group of other women together. We're a bunch of mommies just trying to support each other, help each other get healthy, for our families. There's a lot of great recipes we share. We just keep each other accountable and help each other. Do you want to hear more? And so that's where the interview happens. And you want to ask a ton of questions. So a couple questions are, what are your goals? What would you like to get from this group? What does your daily diet look like? What kind of workouts do you like to do? One of my favorite things to ask is, if they tell me I really need to lose 20 pounds, I don't have any energy, I say, what does that look like? How would your life be different if you were 15 pounds lighter? And you start to get them to envision what life would look like. What would it look like if you were able to lose all that baby weight and fit into your pre-baby clothes? How would that feel to you? So you want to start uncovering that. You want to get them emotionally tied to what their goals are. And this is how you can prevent objections from even happening, because you're already showing them that you can satisfy this need. So you want to ask a ton of questions. You really want to uncover a lot in that interview process. And And then you can send them videos. We talk about the fitness program that they aren't familiar with it. I like to send them a video, the 2-minute video from the back office about whatever it is. So if it's 21 Day Fix, I'll send them that video, and hopefully you guys know how to get to that. It's right on the main page. If you go on down to the right, it says, you just click on English under where it says videos, and it pulls up all those videos, and you can click what video you want. And then when you copy the link, it goes right to your coach page. So I'll say, oh, I'm going to send you this video. Can you, and I always leave with a question. Can you watch it? When do you think you can watch it? And then, they'll tell me, and then I follow up with them. And I just say, this program I feel like suits all of your needs, and I'll reiterate what they said. I know you have a vacation coming up in 3 weeks and you really want to fit into that bathing suit. I know you really struggle with your eating, and this is a simple nutrition plan that's going to help you. The Shakeology is going to help you to control your cravings, give you that one healthy meal for the day, and keep you full, give you energy, whatever it is that they're looking for. Okay, are you ready to get started? And you help them enroll. So that's like in a perfect world, right? That happens. And it doesn't always happen because you're going to get objections. So you want to make sure that you don't provoke. Hold on. Sorry, guys. You don't want to provoke objections. You want to prevent them. So, and you can do that. You can provoke or prevent them just by these simple things. So make sure, we call it posturing. You do this if you're in person. It's, there's a lot of body language associated with it. Verbally, if you're on the phone and in person, and then written, you can prevent objections as well. So I want you guys to think about, and this is very normal that this happens. When someone tells you something over and over again, you tend to start to believe it, right? So let's say, you're a kid and your family tells you over and over, well, you're overweight, you're overweight, you're overweight, you're overweight. You tend to believe it, right? You just were like, well, that's what everyone tells me. It's kind of like with Shakeology, same thing. It's too expensive. It's too expensive. It's too expensive. And then you probably take a step back and think, oh, maybe it is too expensive, right? But perception is reality. I always say if someone has a smartphone, they can afford Shakeology. And you just have to, it's a perception that you have, okay? So you yourself have to see the value in the products that you're sharing and selling, and see the value in who you are as a coach and what you're bringing to the table. So what you think about is how you speak. So if you personally feel like Shakeology is overpriced and is not a good value for what you're getting in that product, you are going to provoke objections with pricing, because you are going to just talk that way. And you may not even realize that you're doing it. For instance, you may say something like, I know it's really expensive, but it's really good and you really need it. People are automatically going to go, what? Because they may not even think that it's expensive, but you have to see the value in it. And it's not expensive for what is in it. If you were to get all of those ingredients separate, you'd pay close to $500 at a month, probably even more, at a Whole Food, at a store. And then you'd have to mix it all. And then the amount that you mix, is it even going to taste good? So you have to see the value in what you're bringing to the table. Shakeology is for $4 a day. You have to think about it in terms of other things people are eating. People will not even think twice about spending $5, $6 on a coffee at Starbucks, right? So you really need to think about what you're bringing and thinking about how you're positioning yourself. Even if if you're in front of someone and you're talking about Shakeology or the coach, it doesn't even have to be Shakeology. That's just a common seems to be the expense is in Shakeology is the most common thing. It's the same with the coaching opportunity. If you're standing in front of someone and you're like, well, do you think you want to be a coach? I mean, it's really good and you can make money. I mean, people are going to back off from that and be like, and you may not even realize, and it's a subconscious thing that they're doing. But when you speak confidently and passionately about the product and what you're doing, people will listen, and people will, those objections won't necessarily happen. So just make sure that you're not provoking those objections. So again, it goes along with really, what is your mindset? What are your thoughts on the different programs, the different prices, the different time commitments, that kind of thing. If you expect them, you're going to get them. And just remember, it's not about you. It's about them and what they believe. And that's what you're trying to help them see, is the value and how you can help them. If you don't have a lot of objections within you, this is, I'm kind of being repetitive here, then you won't get a lot of objections. If you're kind of expecting and welcoming and, positioning yourself, you're going to get a lot of objections. All right, let me see. Okay. So a couple little tips. This is what I'm calling objection handling skills. A couple things that I do, and I don't do a ton of different things. I really just use a few phrases. This is a really good one. And you can use this for anything in life. You could use this with your husband. You don't have to be an expert, and you don't want to ever, attack people or put them in defense. You don't want to ever make them feel like their objection is stupid. You want to make them feel like it's valid and that you understand. But you can say something like this, and you can say this phrase with anything. I don't know. All I know is I thought it was a great deal and I lost 30 pounds. And now I have more energy and confidence than I ever had. I don't know. All I know is, and I don't know is, and to any objection you're getting, you could say, these people could say, I don't know that I could follow this diet. It seems to be too hard. I don't know if it's actually going to work. You're like, I don't know. All I know is I tried every single diet out there. I've yo-yo dieted for years, and I finally found something that's helped me to keep the weight off, stay accountable to my goals, and feel better than I ever have. If you have an objection to the coaching opportunity, I don't know. All I know is my life has completely changed since I started this thing. And I don't know if you want that change, but if you do, why don't you follow me? So you're not pushing people. You're just kind of giving them a different perspective here. Okay. I don't know. All I know is, and then, you can explain to them, what they would lose from not jumping on this opportunity. And I'll share this PowerPoint in our group so you guys can, you can copy and paste this stuff right to a conversation that you're having. If you are having an objection conversation that, is over Facebook. Okay. The other one that I really like to use, and I use this a lot, is the feel, felt, found. And this is just, a lot of times I use this with Shakeology because this was true. I was skeptical about paying for it every month. I was on one income and living pretty paycheck to paycheck. But, when you do the feel, felt, found, you're really validating and overcoming. And so you're just understanding, listen, I completely understand how you feel. I felt the same exact way, but here is what I found. And then you use your own story. And this is true. I mean, you can use these stories, but this was true for me. I saved money on my groceries, even with Shakeology, because I cut out all the junk and was more efficient with meal planning. That's what the challenge group helped me do. I saved money because I stopped eating out for lunch or drinking Starbucks. Some people say they don't feel like they have time, right? So the last one that it was an example of, people telling me they don't have time to do the coaching opportunity. And I said, I understand. I felt the same way. I know how you feel. I felt the same way. But what I found was just by waking up a little bit earlier every day, setting time aside in the evening, and a little bit more time on the weekends, I was able to build to a 6-figure income by also working a full-time job. So really, it's just, again, not being offensive, just saying, I get it. Like, $130 can be a sticker shock for people on a monthly basis. I understand that. But what I can tell you is that what I found is this is what it has done for me. This is where it saved me money. Or I've said, and this is true too. I felt the same way. But what I found was knowing the peace of mind of having a 30-day money back guarantee if I wasn't satisfied with what the results were, that enabled me to have the peace of mind to purchase the product. Once I did that, I never looked back. 3 years later, here I am. Same thing with commitment to working out, right? I understand how you feel. It seems like it's a lot. I felt the same way when I first started incorporating working out every single day into my calendar. But what I found is by setting aside 30 minutes a day for myself, I actually felt better, had more energy, and was more productive through the day because I was able to get those workouts done. So you can use this with anything: time, money, fear. A lot of people are afraid of exercising, afraid of failure. So this one is another good one that I use. So a couple other things to think about. The person asking the question wins. The person doing, why did I say it like that? So you want to be asking the questions. The person that's asking all of the questions is the one who's going to win, essentially, or seal the deal. So just think about that. When you're talking with people, make sure that you're in the driver's seat. Make sure that you are the one that's asking all of the questions, right? And if you lose control, you just need to slow down. Don't get nervous. And just go back to the basics and be like, okay, wait a minute. I just need to ask more questions, because they may come at you like, well, how much is it? And they keep going on and on. Well, how much time do I have to commit? And how much is it? And do I have to share my pictures on Facebook? And, all you're doing is answering questions. And what I do is like, I have a great answer to all those questions, but let me get some more information from you first so that I can steer you in the right direction. We have a number of different options for you to choose from, and I want to make sure that we find something that fits for you. So you always want to make sure that you're getting a lot of information from them. The other thing that we tend to do is diagnose before we prescribe. And that's just because we have assumptions in our mind. We already are assuming that we know why they're making a decision that they're making. So I'm trying to think of an example. For instance, someone might say, well, I don't want to do Shakeology. I don't think I can do Shakeology every month. And instantly you're thinking in your head, probably because you've heard it before, well, it's not that expensive. And then you handle it that way. And that's not why they weren't drinking it at all. They didn't want to drink it because they tried some other shake, like maybe Isogenics or something like that, and it made them sick. And they're just thinking that Shakeology is the same thing. So you're already diagnosing them as, a price objection when really you don't even know why. So you have to ask questions. Well, why don't you think you can drink it every day? Why do you feel like it's going to make you sick? Is there something that happened to you in the past? And there's a there's a funny story that goes along with this presentation that I listened to about the diagnosing before you can prescribe, to give you a completely different example, but just how we do this in general. He was talking to another coach, and she was a dental hygienist or something like that. And he said, I don't go to the dentist. And instantly, she didn't ask him why he didn't go to the dentist. She's like, why? You have to go to the dentist. You need to go to the dentist. It's, and she just kind of attacked him, which sometimes, we may do this. Well, you have to do Shakeology, or you have to do that. And he looked at her and he's like, wait a minute. Like, why are you, you have no idea even why. And so she just went on, he said, let me tell you why. And he just had issues with people in his personal space, and he had issues with his mouth. And I mean, that's not the point of the story, but basically she's like, well, I understand that bothers you, but do you realize if you don't get your teeth cleaned on a regular basis, you could be susceptible to oral cancer or other diseases because of the germs that are in your mouth, right? Well, he looked at that and he's like, oh, okay, I think that getting my teeth cleaned, and the alternative of that is, oral cancer, I'll suck it up. So it's kind of the same thing with what we do. Do people realize the habits that they create, what can happen to them? But you can't just diagnose people. You can't just assume things. You can't just already think you have a solution for them when you don't necessarily know what their problem is. So you need to find out why. How can you help them to come to a different conclusion? A lot of times with shakes too, and I know I keep going back to Shakeology because that seems to be the biggest objection that we seem to hear, is people assume it's like Slim Fast. They think that all they're going to drink all day is a shake, or they're grouping it with a different shake that we compete against. They have all of these assumptions, and if we don't ask enough questions, then we really aren't able to satisfy that need. So I cannot emphasize enough is asking a ton of questions up front. And then, of course, you want to share testimonials. So the greatest way to handle objections too is to share stories. Now, you may be a new coach. You may not feel like you have a ton of stories. There are so many stories out there. You can ask your upline, what success stories do you have? And you don't need thousands of stories. You need 2 or 3. And if it's something specific, you can always post on the team page. If it's something like, hey, has anybody ever had any testimonials with cholesterol? You'll get 25 responses. Anybody with blood pressure, anybody with thyroid issues, tons of responses, because everybody has a story. Every coach, even customers that maybe aren't coaching, that are utilizing product. I mean, the products are amazing. So, everybody has a story. So just collect 3 to 5 stories. Get those in your success, the success stories library. Start collecting them on the workout program. Start collecting them on Shakeology. Now we have this new performance line. Start collecting them so that you can offer these testimonials to people. Every week, Beachbody is giving away $500. Every $500 award winner has a story. Go to Team Beachbody's page. Look at who the winners are on a daily basis. They're real people. They're real results. This stuff is not made up. You can go to your Shakeology page, your myshakeology.com. There is a tab just for success stories. And there are tons and tons of stories that you can look up and read about. And then, of course, we have the clinically proven trial that they did. So I oftentimes, if I'm talking to people, about health issues, blood sugar, weight, and cholesterol, I talk about that. I say, listen, it's clinically proven to lower cholesterol and, there was a clinical trial done, and I'll share that video with them. This stuff is legit. My grandmother dropped her cholesterol 27 points in 8 weeks. I mean, those are real numbers. People are getting real blood work, real numbers, of course, and then you have your own journey. What kind of weight loss success have you had? How have the programs helped you? Most coaches that have been in this a long time have done multiple programs. So don't hesitate to reach out and ask, if you need a story in relation to someone that's, questioning. And you always want to be sharing that stuff on your social media page. And that's what's going to attract people, is people want to see stories. You want to share your story, first of all, because that you are the one that they're buying into, is the coach. And you want to share, like, what is this doing for you? How is this changing your life? If you just started on Shakeology, what's happening? And what you'll just start doing is talking about it anyways. I had a coach that lived on caffeine. I mean, I can't remember how many Diet Cokes she said she drank a day. She works really early at the airport, and she was living on caffeine, and now she drinks Shakeology and has the energy that she needs every day. And her coworkers are like, whoa, what are you doing? So she shares about that. I don't need all this coffee. I don't need all this caffeine. All right, let's see. Okay. So some specific objections, we kind of went over this, but I'll go over it a little bit more. The money objection. And these are just some examples. I don't know. All I know is my upline, my sponsor was living paycheck to paycheck and found a way to make it happen. And now she's making 6 figures. So, you could use this for the coaching objection. You could use, this is more for the coaching objection. This is for even, I was this person, like, I couldn't pay for Shakeology, and then I decided to become a discount coach to afford it a little bit more. And then I just started telling people about it, and then it just turned into something way bigger. Find out why they don't have the money. You could have another solution for them, right? So this business isn't just about health. You can offer them a solution to, making extra money on the side. They could do this as a business. And, a lot of times the affordability thing is just a smokescreen. So, don't be afraid to, if you've been, I suggest this. I'm not like this forward with people, but if I have been talking to them for a while and they are just really just like, I don't know, I can't afford it. I'm like, well, were you serious about wanting to get healthy? And you seriously can't afford it, or are you just afraid to hurt my feelings? So you kind of give them an out. Are you really serious that you don't have time to do this? Or, are you just saying that so you don't feel bad telling me no? Don't feel bad to say that to people, because some people just will tell you things as a smokescreen. Again, using the 30-day money back guarantee. I think that I've had in my 3 years as a coach, maybe 2 returns, from their initial purchase, people that, the program didn't work or they didn't like Shakeology. Honestly, I can think of 2 people off the top of my head, and that's really all I can think of. And I've had a lot of customers. So, that 30-day money back guarantee, don't be afraid to talk about that. Carl talks about that all the time. Imagine if everybody was returning their Shakeology, this company wouldn't be a $1 billion company, right? So, explain that. We believe so strongly in our product, then you can get your money back if you're not satisfied after 30 days. Does that give you peace of mind in spending the money? That gave me peace of mind. And that made me bite the bullet. So don't be afraid to talk to people about that. Time objection, you're going to hear that from, a working out standpoint, or you're going to hear that from people that don't want to do the coaching opportunity. I get it. I totally understand. When I started coaching, I was still working full time. I woke up early, went to bed later. I felt like I would never fit it in, but I found to fit it in, I have more energy and I have never felt better. It was worth the sacrifices. So that's with working out, and that's with the coaching opportunity. I mean, that's more about working out, but just explaining to people when they have a time commitment objection with working out is that, like, you actually have more energy. When I get up early and work out first thing, I'm way more productive through the day than when I put it off. When I'm working out, when I'm healthy, I'm way more productive. If I'm unhealthy, if I'm not working out, I'm definitely lethargic, don't get as much done. And then you can be really frank with people, like, if you really want this, you will find a way. And, you have the right to say that to people when you've earned it, right? So you've already talked with them about their goals. You know exactly what they want, and they might just be afraid. And you just explain to them, like, listen, you'll figure it out. You'll find a way, and I'll help you do it. And that's what I'm here for. So if you really want this, you're going to find a way. Do you really want this? And sometimes they're going to say no, and that's okay. But at least you've uncovered everything. You've explained to them the value of what you have to offer. And then you just say, all right, if this isn't a good time for you, can I follow up with you next month? And then what they're going to do is they're just going to keep watching you. And then eventually when they're ready, they'll come to you. Spouse objection. I don't get this one as much. I usually, if I do, I just say, I kind of give them the, well, why don't you, I talk to them about their spouse's goals, tell me a little bit about your spouse, I'll try to get on the phone with the spouse too, or get on the computer with the spouse, just remain in control. And then figure out, why is it that they think the spouse won't let them do it? And kind of handle objections again, like you would time, or, it could be money. It could be time. It could be a smokescreen. Like, is that really the reason? Or you just really, you don't want to hurt my feelings? You can be honest with people, but if it's money, I know for me, I would probably talk to my husband and say, let me just talk to my husband about it. A lot of times there's husbands out there, and I don't mean to pin the husbands, but, most of my customers are women. So, a lot of times it's, well, you've done all these other things before. Like, why do you think this is going to work? So again, you can talk about that 30-day money back guarantee. Like, listen, tell your husband you can get your money back and prove it to him. A lot of times what I try to do is get the spouse on board with them. This is going to be great for all of you. You're going to incorporate healthy eating into everything. If a lot of times the husbands need to get healthy and fit too. So, and then if the spouse is still not on board, but they let the wife get on board, I'll tell you what, most times they come around because they just are watching and they're like, okay. And then they see the results and how much better they're feeling. And, well, what's the shake thing? Well, let me try this. So for the most part, the spouses typically come around. But again, it just goes back to ask questions about that. You want to make sure that you are cautious about, I don't know. A lot of that's not, it may not be any of your business kind of thing. But, always offer to be able to help both of them too. Okay, this is really important too. So when people have an objection because they're looking at another product, honestly, what I do is I just go back to asking a lot of questions. What is it about that product that you're looking at that you really like? What is it And to be honest with you, I don't do a lot of competitive shopping. I do know enough that there's nothing out there that compares to what we offer with Shakeology. And I don't attack, I really support and just insert my own story. You know, if it's the workouts or if it's this, the first one, my first response is that, you know, I myself lost more than 10 pounds, controlled my autoimmune disease and feel better than ever, and have remained in control of my health for 3 years. This isn't about a quick fix. So, you know, that could be something to, you know, we get, I mean, It Works is a competitor where people just want to do the wraps. Well, you know, the wrap thing, you know, I'm sure that it probably works, but it's not permanent. You know, you're going to lose a bunch of water weight and then it's going to come back on. So, but I don't say that to people. Like, why would you use those stupid wraps? That's not going to work. Even that's kind of how I feel. No offense, Jess. I wouldn't say that, you know, some people, you know, I know enough that I just tell them, you know, I don't really know a lot about that, but this is what I know about Shakeology and how it's helped me. And I share stories. You know, I have so many challengers who have reached their weight loss and fitness goals because they've followed these fitness and nutrition programs and have been engaged in my groups. There are countless success stories of thousands of people that are getting results and maintaining these results. So I really, you know, I don't know about that, but I do know this. And I talk about what we have to offer. I talk about what like I said, I never try to say, well, they do this or they do that. I just say, this is what we do. We have this amazing formula, and it's nutrition with Shakeology and the other supplements that we offer, the fitness programs that are foolproof, they work, and we've seen results after results of them working. And we have support, which is where I come in. I'm your coach. I do this for free. I run these groups. I've run these groups month after month. And when I first started, I would say my upline ran these groups month after month. I myself have participated in it, and they work. So, you know, this is what it is, and this is what we do. And I don't attack other programs. I do try to find out, though, what it is about that other program or that other thing that they're looking at and why they would choose that. So you always just ask a ton of questions. I know there's a new one out. It's called Thrive, I guess. I don't know anything about it other than it's like a patch. I mean, anything like that, you guys, you know, like there aren't quick fixes. Like, it's all about eating right and exercising. It's science. Eat, consume less calories, burn more. That's how you lose weight. It's as simple as that. I mean, you're not going to sprinkle Sensa on your food and not be hungry. Like, it's silly, you know? So it's just kind of common sense, but people want a quick fix. So you have to educate them, but you yourself need to be educated on what we have to offer. Like I said, I myself do not spend a lot of time competitively shopping. If someone is looking at another product, I actually will just Google it, look at the nutrition facts. And most times it's really easy for me to say, oh yeah, well, they have a ton of artificial sweeteners and preservatives. So I wouldn't choose that. That's my personal opinion. That we stand behind the integrity of our products, and, you know, with artificial comes a lot of other negative things on your system. You know, if somebody's into CrossFit or they like some other workout, have at it. You know, if that's what they want to do, you know, I'm like, great, you know. But you also told me that you have 3 kids and you don't have much time to work out. So think about all the time you would save if you could work out at home. You don't have driving time. You don't have the in-between time. You know, let's face it, when you go to the gym, I mean, it's not like pressing play on a DVD player and working out for 30 minutes. You're getting there. There's people there. You're talking. You know, it's not an in and out thing in 30 minutes, but literally for working from home, working out from home, you literally get your workout done in 30 minutes and there's so much time saved. So I talk about it from that standpoint. But again, I can't talk about it from that point of view if I haven't asked enough questions, if I haven't shown them how what we have to offer can satisfy that need. Okay, so you have all these things that you've talked about, right? You've formed a relationship, you have gotten to know them, you've asked a ton of questions, you've invited them to be a part of the group, you've handled all these objections. Now, how do you close? You know, this is where people get stuck too, where they do all this legwork and then they don't ask for the sale. They just expect people to say, you know, where do I sign up? So when you're going through this process, you're always just assuming the sale. Okay. Like, all right, so here's what you need to do next is really how you want to say. You know, you don't want to beg anybody. You don't want to sound desperate. You want to be confident. You want it to basically be like, well, listen, you know, this is what it is. You've handled all these objections. It just makes sense for you to do this. You can say that. Does that all make sense? Do you see how this could help you? Do you have any more questions? Again, always lead it, you know, never end a conversation without a question unless you've closed on them. And then what I like to say is, all right, well, I have a few minutes right now. Let's get you signed up right now. You know, if it's in person, you can say there's a Coach mobile app you can download, or you can set up an appointment like, hey, let's get on the phone tomorrow at 2 and I will walk you through the setup. You know, let's get you set up right now. I'll walk you through it. So again, if they still are not ready to do it, then you've at least uncovered that. But you always want to make sure that you're closing. And if you've handled all the objections, if you've satisfied all their needs, they're going to say, okay, let's go. And if not, you're going to create a follow-up appointment to get them set up. If they still want to think about it longer, you still want to get that permission to follow up with them so that you're always following up. And I think that is, yeah, I think that's all that I had. So again, I'll post these slides for you, but it just goes back to, like, you're going to hear the same things all the time. You're going to hear objections. But when that person is ready, you want to make sure that you are in their mind, not somebody else, right? So when they see that infomercial of 21 Day Fix or Insanity, and they feel like they're ready, and hopefully they don't buy it from the infomercial, which can't happen in the midnight hours when they're on a whim. You know, you want them to think of you. And I've had that happen quite a few times. People that I've already reached out to that come back to me and say, hey, I saw that infomercial. Hey, I'm ready now. And because you've continued to follow up with them, because you invited them in general, and you've kept posting about your journey, people are thinking about you. People are always going to have you in their mind. So I just want to leave the last few minutes. If you guys have any questions, like if you have any specific examples, like you had an objection and you want me to help you to handle it. Also feel free, if you want to talk more about the coaching opportunity with someone, if you're my downline coach and you want us to get on like a 3-way call, I don't mind doing that. We can do a Zoom call. We can get on the phone. You know, if they have a ton of questions and you feel like you're nervous about answering them, I don't mind helping with that. If you guys want to post any of your objections that you get in the group and get some feedback from us, I don't mind helping with that. Does anybody have any specific examples or questions? Let me stop. Let's see. Whitney, Sarah, Jen. Okay. All right. Well, if we don't have any questions, again, like I said, you will you will hear objections. There's more training on handling objections in the online office if you want to go back to, hear another training session on it. A great book called Go for No. It's a short read, personal development, talks all about handling objections. Eric Worre, he wrote Go Pro. It's another really good personal development book about how to move through the sales process so that you don't get the objections, to continue, always asking questions. And I think that's it. So hopefully this gave you guys some ideas as to talk with people about what it is they're objecting to. Go back to your conversations of the people that said no and go through them. Use all of this as a learning experience. Believe me, I didn't have all of these statements or tactics when I first started. It's just something that I learned along the way. But don't ever feel like you're failing because you didn't handle an objection appropriately, or someone didn't buy from you right away because you feel like you didn't handle it. Just go back to it. Go back through it and see. And chances are you're going to say, oh, okay, I didn't even really tell them. I didn't satisfy any of their needs. Or, I just assumed that they didn't want it for this reason. Or I just assumed, or I'm positioning myself to provoke the objection because of what I believe. So, take a step back and think about, how do you see yourself? Like, are you seeing yourself as the valuable person that you are in bringing these people on board? You are giving them a service. You are available to them 24/7. If someone were to purchase a personal trainer, and I know Sarah knows this, it's expensive to have a personal trainer, right? And when you're working with a personal trainer, think about how much money people pay for a personal trainer. And think about when you're with that person. So let's say, I don't even know, an example, people are paying $400 a month for a personal trainer, right? And they're seeing that trainer, twice a week, maybe. That's probably pushing it. The only time that trainer is really available to them is that half hour or hour that they're there. Is that trainer providing a nutrition plan for them? Is that trainer available to them to be able to stay accountable and checking in? Chances are they're not. So as a coach, you are making yourself available. You're giving someone accountability to be able to check into this group 24/7. You're not available 24/7, but you're talking to them on a daily basis. Their personal trainers are in their living room following a program that is foolproof because it's been backed by scientific evidence to do workouts in a specific way so that they get results. You're providing them with nutritional guidance. Now they have this meal replacement, and you're essentially doing that for free, right? I mean, you have to think about the value that you are offering these people. Maybe you're not a fitness expert or a nutrition expert, but you are there supporting them. And that's what people need. The programs work, the Shakeology works. They need your support. They need to be able to know that it's okay they fell off. It's okay. I mean, do personal trainers really care about that? I mean, I'm sure that they do, but when you go in to see your personal trainer, like, you're there for that hour. They can't control what you're doing the rest of the time. I mean, I'm sure they would like to be able to see what you're doing more and be more involved, but it's kind of hard in that setting. So, I don't know. It's a value that you need to show people, that they have, and you are super valuable. So just remember that. Make sure that you have that belief in your head when you're talking to people about the program, about what they're getting with the program. They're not just getting a product, they're getting you. And that's huge. So that's just something else to think about. But I think that's all I have. I'm hoping that I'm not on the call next week and that I have a baby. But you will have all your morning posts. So just to kind of keep you guys updated. if Amber may run the call next week if I'm not available, but we will still have at least 2 more calls for sure. So, or I'll have someone else run it. So, but you guys are doing great. So just keep posting, any questions you have and anything that you need from me. So I hope you all have a good evening, and I will post this recording as soon as it uploads. So have a good night.